there's almost in Obama the sense that the scale of his policies, the size, the grandeur of them constitutes the vision. That scale is vision. That largesse, doing things in a large, massive way, is virtue in itself. And clearly, Americans have, if for the last elections any indication, clearly have rebelled against that. On the level of foreign policy, there seems to be no vision at all. No idea of why we're doing the things we're doing in the world, what the role of the United States is or should be in the world. Almost no vision. And a retreat, basically, to following the policies of George W. Bush, both in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and elsewhere. But no vision yet from this man, from Obama himself. So I think that explains why just in itself explains, has a lot to do with his decline, is that people have begun to lose confidence in him as a leader. I think there is also a cultural backstory here that also contributes to his decline. Let me look at that quickly. There is this quality about him of the various people have defined as otherness. Something a little different about Obama. There's the birther movement, the question of where is his birth certificate? Was he really born in the United States or somewhere else, Africa or Indonesia? Some people suspect him of being secretly a Muslim. After all, he spent a good part of his childhood in Indonesia. Others suspect him of a kind of simpatico with black militant leaders, like the Reverend Wright, whose church he sat in for 20-some years. So there is this idea about Obama that he's different, that he's not red-blooded American. And I think probably none of these things are true. I have no idea about where his birth certificate is, but in any case, he's elected president of the United States by the will of the people, and that's enough for me. I doubt that he's a Muslim, and I doubt that he probably any longer is a great fan of Reverend Wright. But he still does have this otherness quality, and that's what I want to look at. I think he really is the first president to come out of the post-60s counterculture. That he came of age as that counterculture was unfolding. And it began in the 60s, which I think was arguably the most transformative decade in all of American history. And here's why I think it is. In the 60s, many of the hypocrisies that had been latent in American society, our long history of racism, the second-class treatment of women, other minorities, so forth, these weaknesses, evils, if you will, were established in the 1960s as hypocrisies. Societies can live with evil pretty well. We saw the Germans do it until they were defeated. Certainly racism, segregation, and so forth in the United States existed for centuries. And people lived with it, found ways to go along with it. One of the achievements of the civil rights movement was to establish racism as an hypocrisy. And once something becomes an hypocrisy, then it becomes almost unbearable, and change will inevitably follow. When you see in the evening news a little girl in pigtails being escorted into a classroom by two towering policemen just because she's black, the hypocrisy is too much to bear. and the entire social direction of the society begins to change, because we can't look each other in the eye. The moral authority of all of our institutions is up for grabs, and change is inevitable. Well, in the 60s, certainly race was the civil rights movement was the first hypocrisy to be established. Then there was the women's movement. We had women in a second-class position. That became established as an hypocrisy. This was also the era of the Vietnam War, and so this was an hypocrisy. We could say, well, this is an example of American imperialism. We're supposed to be a free nation, and here we are 5,000 miles away in Asia fighting this little country. So that became another hypocrisy. The environment was established, environmentalism. We said, well, we claim to be America the Beautiful, and yet, we're strip mining, and our rivers are catching on fire, and we're abusing. We're so greedy to make money that we're abusing our environment. So that became a part of the consciousness. Even puritanical sexual mores became established as an hypocrisy in the 60s, and they're followed the sexual revolution and so forth. Well, all of these hypocrisies, in one decade, America is suddenly accountable for them. Can't escape them anymore. Must change. And so, as they compounded in this way, a new idea was introduced, I think, into American life, and that is the idea that there is at the core of American society characterological evil. That there's something inherently evil about the American way of life and so forth. And we could turn around, you could say, well, if you don't believe that, then look at the way blacks were treated. Look at the way women were treated. Look at what we do to the environment. Look at our military-industrial complex. We're evil. There's something really inherently evil about us. We're like Germany. Germany could never be trusted again after World War II. A society that could do something like that in characterological evil. I think this was the idea that launched the counterculture. That America is a characterologically evil society that we will always have to monitor and watch out for, and so forth. Ironically, then, a kind of rule was created that I think defines the counterculture, which is that bad faith in America is virtue. You should doubt America. You should always suspect it of being evil. You should have a certain bad faith in it, and that is what will make you virtuous, a better person, a new hope and change. Hope and change is a bad faith expression. It says, this is an evil society, and I'm going to change it. I'm the hope that we can overcome our evil. Vote for me. So the counterculture found this, positing this idea of evil, found a formula for power. And I think Obama came of age in this time in history. I think this past weekend, just to take a quick little digression, to give you an example of what bad faith, how bad faith is virtue. This terrible tragedy that just happened in Tucson, Arizona, and right away, people are saying it's because our political discourse is so terrible, and we again, this idea that there's something fundamentally wrong with America. There's something fundamentally evil in America, and yet here it is, and here's another example of it. And this young man has been inspired and egged on by this quality in American life. This idea that we're evil is, again, you see it being exploited even in a situation like that for political ends, for power. Obama's apology when he goes to meet foreign leaders and bowing all of the time and reflexively and statements like, well, we're not an exceptional nation, we're just another nation, and this almost obsequious stance that he takes oftentimes toward foreign leaders, again, goes back to the idea that there's something fundamentally wrong with us, that we're not a perfect nation and so forth. Well, this is a problem. This is why I think he has this sort of look of otherness, because this coming from this point of view, that there's something evil about America, as his wife famously said, she was proud of America only after they voted for her husband, because she knows America is inherently evil. But again, the problem is that it puts the President of the United States at odds with the reality of American exceptionalism. And so we have every president we've ever had has believed in American exceptionalism, has been proud of America, has said has behaved on the world stage as not as though we're a racially superior people, but that we are in fact an exceptional nation. We have not just because of our wealth and our power and our military might, but even many would say, I would say, because of our character and our devotion to freedom, and the way we faced many of the contradictions in our society. And so there's every reason, I think, to be very proud of our exceptionalism. But when you come from the point of view that this sort of bad faith point of view, this counterculture point of view, American exceptionalism is evil itself. The counterculture says our military might is a manifestation of our evil. Our wealth is a manifestation of our greed. Everything that we're proud of is just evidence that we are this evil, terrible society and so forth. And so if there's something in the tone of Barack Obama, this sort of counterculture tone, where he again seems to be at odds with the greatness of his own society. And so he is as a phrase I've used in an op-ed piece, he is a man redeeming a bad nation rather than a man leading a great nation. And I think that is the cultural background of his decline. It's hard to really have America stay in love with you when your power and your authority in many ways are based in bad faith. Let me stop there, and let's just talk for a while. Questions?
We have one on each side, so if you have a question, I would suggest you raise your hand and we'll get to that line.
Apropos the bad faith, talk about Attorney General Holder early on, his comments about America was a coward's nation because they can't discuss race. I didn't think that.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, apropos Attorney General,
yes.
Bad faith. Attorney General Holder told us we're a nation of cowards because we can't discuss race. So how does this fit into the model, and how do you think it'll?
Well, there it is.
President Obama.
There it is. It is the idea of blaming America first. We can't discuss. We actually would discuss race now, but it's difficult to discuss race in America because it's such a high risk activity. People you're in a kind of jeopardy when you do, And so we don't, it's not something we